Today, I'm bringing you a very special deck. It's special to me because I love cars and I love tarot. And I finally found a marriage between the two in tarot cars. Find your destination. Now, tarot cars is brought to us by Jeannie of the Way, and she has a Etsy site where you can pick up this deck reasonably and quite a value for what you get. It comes in a very nice hard box, and here's the back and the sides. And it has a great magnetic closure that opens all the way, and within you'll find a little guidebook, which is very handy, and I'll get into that later. And then we have the cards themselves. And this is a deck of cars. So we have a lot of classic cars, a lot of great color on the backs of the cards. And the cardstock itself is very good, very thick. I love the gloss on it. Now, some decks I don't care for the gloss, but this deck really makes the colors pop, and the artwork and everything just pops with that gloss. So I'm glad Jeannie did that. And if we remove the deck, we find 78 cards. And what's interesting is that specific cars relate to specific cards. So in the majors, you can see that. Anyways, well, I might as well begin. Okay, when I say cars relate to cards, this is what I mean. The Fool is a 66 Thunderbird from the movie Thelma and Louise. Now, I remember the movie Thelma and Louise, and I remember that final shot where they drive off the cliff of the Grand Canyon. And then the movie kind of stops, if I recollect. It's been a few years, but it's a very good Fool card because we have the car going off the cliff, but you might say, "What? Wait." And Rider-Waite-Smith, the Fool, is hesitating. We don't know if he's going off or if his dog's going to pull him back. Well, here we know that the Fool leaves the cliff, but this does not affect the other cards in your read. This is just a great shot of a famous car. And also at the bottom, we have great keywords: naive, and if we reverse it, reckless. If you do reversals, it's there if you need it. And so it's just an interesting Fool card. Next, we move on to the Magician, and it features an 81 DeLorean DMC-12. And the DeLorean was made famous by movie Back to the Future and the subsequent movies. And the DeLorean is kind of a magical car in that it's a time machine, so it's pretty good definition of magician. And we also have a Rider-Waite-Smith Magician standing beside the DeLorean. And I like the fact that his red attire brings out the red wildflowers in the foreground. And it's just a very nice Fool card. Magician card, excuse me. Next, we move on to the High Priestess. This is a 67 Chevy Impala. And this car is from the TV show Bewitched. Now, I'm old enough to remember watching this show while it aired in the 60s. So I remember this show, and the main character was played by Elizabeth Montgomery, and her name in the show was Samantha. Now this car was acquired by a private party, and they nicknamed it Samantha. And it last changed hands for $22,000 in 2015. I thought that was a pretty good price for a TV show car, but there it is. So that's the High Priestess. And next we have the Empress. It's a 1951 Daimler DB18. And this is a big luxury car. It's almost pregnant. I mean, it's so large and exclusive, and it's quite the collectible nowadays. But it's a great car, and very few of us can afford one nowadays. But there it is. Next, we move on to the Emperor, which is a 2018 Cadillac. Cadillac One, it's called. This is the president's car. This is a car that's used to transport the president around, and it's extremely safe for him to travel in because it has glass that's 6 inches thick, and the doors are over 8 inches thick, and the tires can run on flats for quite some time. They really can be shot or something, and they just keep on going. So quite the car, and a very good Emperor card. Next, we move on to the Hierophant, and we have a 2002 Mercedes-Benz M-Class. This is the Alabama-built Popemobile. And yes, this is really built in Alabama. And what's unique about the Popemobile, of course, is the rear section where the Pope can stand and ride safely while he goes through crowds and blesses them. And this is also resilient to like bottles and rocks and bullets even, but not quite in the level of the president's car. But it's a very unique vehicle, and they've actually been making Popemobiles for almost 80 years now. And next are the Lovers. The Lovers card is represented by a 1995 Jeep Cherokee Sport XJ. And this is from the movie Shallow Hal. And I'd seen this movie, but I kind of forgot what it was about. So I went on YouTube and I watched a clip, and then I remembered. Now, Hal, the main character here, he's hypnotized into thinking that people are thinner than they really are. In America, this is a problem with weight, but he meets a woman, and she's like over 400 pounds, and he sees her as a 110, 115-pound, beautiful woman. And at first, she doesn't believe that he likes her, but since he can't see her as heavy, then eventually they come around. But they have a lot of fights and this and that. And you don't know what's going to happen at the end. But he finds that beauty comes from inside someone, which is an important spiritual lesson, we have to make throughout life. That in the end, it's the inner beauty that really counts. Next, move on to the Chariot. This is very appropriate. This is a 2014 Peterbilt Model 389 car carrier truck. Now, Peterbilt builds several different versions of a car carrier. This is the 389, very popular, and I'm sure you've seen these with vehicles on them. But anyways, this is very appropriate for a Chariot card. Next, we move on to Strength. This is a 2018 Toyota Land Cruiser, the HJ series, HJ76, African safari truck, and it is indeed that. Now, the HJ series are built for ruggedness, for dependability. They're a little short on creature comforts compared to big modern SUVs, but they get the job done. And it's so appropriate that we see a lion in the foreground because the strength lies within the vehicle, but the lion is there to tame. Next, we move on to the Hermit. This is a Batmobile. It's a 1995 Chevy custom chassis with a 350 motor in it, ZZ3 engine, and from the movie Batman Forever. Now, this car in the movie is capable of grappling up the sides of buildings vertically. It's also can turn 90 degrees with wheels that turn 90 degrees. But that's it. That's the Hermit. Next, we move on to the Wheel of Fortune. It's a 2022 Mercedes-Benz Maybach Excelero. And this is referenced in the TV show Wheel of Fortune. It is a, bear in one moment here while I look at my notes. It has a V12. It cost $8 million to build. It has a 700 horsepower engine in it. And this car was actually built around the tires. They designed the tires first and made the tires, and then they built a whole car around it. And it is a concept car, and it's certainly a great concept to take tires and engineer a big vehicle on top of those tires. But that's what they did. And we move on to Justice. And Justice is a 2021 Dodge Charger Pursuit police car. This car is a beast on the road. It's so fast that they limit it to 140 miles an hour. And they cost about $45,000 per car for the police departments, but they do sell well. The Hanged Man, we have a 1972 Regal Supervan 3 from the TV show Mr. Bean. Now, I've never seen this TV show, so I looked it up quickly and found that it's a 3-wheeled vehicle, and they actually used 2 of them in the filming of the show. Quite unique vehicle, and I haven't seen Mr. Bean's, but I think it's a comedy of sorts. Next, we move on to Death, and Death is a hearse. It's a 2020 Lincoln MKT funeral hearse, and this hearse has 6 doors. It's quite the hearse, so that's an appropriate death card. Oh, sorry about the camera. Temperance is a 1966 Volvo 1800, and this has an interesting story. This car was purchased in 1966 by Irving Gordon, and it has 3.25 million miles on it. And the way Irving did that, well, obviously he was a driver. He drove on a lot of different continents and all over the States. And he passed on, I think it was 2018, at age 77, but his car is still going. And it has the original motor in it. He had the motor rebuilt twice in 3.2 million miles. And the first one, Volvo said, you didn't even have to rebuild it. You could have kept on going. But he did. But it's amazing. It's still running and still on the road, but not by Irving. Okay, then we have our Devil card. It's just a 58 Plymouth Fury from the movie Christine. And I'm sure most of you remember Christine, but it's like the car that won't die, that can't be killed. Very appropriate for a Devil card. And Christine, as we know it, is still alive to this day somewhere. We have the Tower, which is a 1964 Dodge 330. It's called the Golden Eagle. And there's a story behind this too, and it's similar to Christine. This car has people associated with it, have a lot of people have died. And it's not dying from the car in an accident. Well, for example, it was a police car. It was first owned, driven by 3 different policemen, and all 3 of them, according to legend, all 3 of them murdered their families, okay? But then there have been a whole bunch of people that have been killed that touched or associated with the car, and it might be as high as 32 people, if you can believe that. Okay, for our star card, We have a 2006 Aston Martin. This is from the movie Casino Royale, and they've been using Aston Martins in the James Bond movies for number of shows. I think 6 or so featured Aston Martins. Now this is from Casino Royale, and it's just a very classic car, and it fits James Bond so well. Here's one of my favorite cards, is the Moon card, and it's the lunar rover. And I remember I watched the first moon landing when I was a kid on TV in '69. And by about Apollo 15, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. I think 15 was the first one where they used the lunar rover. And they left 3 lunar rovers up there. Amazing vehicle, can travel over rocks and quite appropriate for the moon. Great moon card. The sun, we have a 2021 Lightyear 1 solar-powered vehicle. Okay? I haven't checked this out too much, but I think it'd be a great idea. It would be to incorporate solar panels onto about every electric car made. Do it in a way that looks good. And then we could take advantage of the sun instead of just electricity to recharge the electric vehicles. But very good sun card. And for judgment, we have a 1969 Pontiac GTO called the Judge. And boy, is that ever a judge. Is 366 horsepower, which back in the 60s was quite a bit of horsepower. Now it's fairly commonplace and much more, but back in the late 60s, that was quite a bit of juice to have under your hood. Anyways, the Judge truly lived up to its name, and it's a famous car. And finally, we have the World, and the World is a 2022 Rolls-Royce Boat Tail, the most expensive car in 2022. And that it is. It's over $28 million if you want to buy one. Now, what's interesting is it's the most expensive car that's street legal. So any other modern production car that doesn't race or anything like that, this is a street legal car, and you can pick one up for $28 million. Okay, now we move on to the suit of cups. And the suit of cups, of course, is represented by the element of water. So these cards will, the scene will be shot around water backgrounds like oceans and stuff. Anyways, the Ace of Cups is an 1886 Benz motor wagon, the first car built. And this car only had 3 wheels. They put one up front and, of course, 2 in the back with a very small, I don't remember how many cylinders it is, but it isn't very big, gasoline-operated motor, which was new at the time of 1886. And Mercedes-Benz built these and to replace the horse's carriage. And our 2 of Cups is a 1920 Ford Model T. This car, Henry Ford introduced the assembly line, and he made this car, and he revolutionized car making. And he sold millions of these over a number of years, and they're still collectible today. The old Model Ts. And we have a 3 of Cups. Let me get my cards together here. Here we have a 3 of Cups, 1930 Duesenberg Model J. Okay, big car, very prestigious at the time. It was just kind of like a Lamborghini of cars back in the 20s and 30s. Very good car. We have a 4 of Cups. We have a 1940 Pontiac Silver Streak. these cars are really cool looking. They still carry over Art Deco work in their body work. A little bit of Art Deco going on here. Of course, in 1940, Art Deco was still alive, but I really like the body style of this. And for our 5 of cups, we have a 1950 Buick Roadmaster convertible. This is a very classy car, and I think it looks really good. I think it looks better than, mid to late 50s styling in many regards. Very nice looking car, very nice lines, and it's been in a couple of movies, that same car. Not that car, but one similar to it. Okay, our 6 of cups, we have a 64 and a half Ford Mustang. This is one of the only cars that I remember as where they say 64 and a half. Like you don't say, I bought a 2023 and a half Honda Civic. No, we rounded off now. But back then, it came out, whenever it came out in the summer or whatever, and they called it a 64 and a half. And of course, the Ford Mustang is legendary, still being manufactured, and quite the pony car. I think it's more of a muscle car. These were considered pony cars. Compete with people that couldn't afford like a Chevy Corvette or the like. We have a 7 of cups, which is a 1970 Oldsmobile Cutlass. And for a while there in the 70s and 80s, Cutlasses were everywhere. Everybody had a Cutlass, it seemed like. I didn't particularly care for them myself, but they were very popular and they sold a lot of them. 8 of cups, we have a 1980 Volvo 242 GT. And Volvos were known in the 80s for their safety. Back before airbags and crumple zones and before people buckled up even that much. Volvo was known to be very safe. So a lot of families bought them. And you see those baby on board signs hanging in the window. But they were considered, a very good car for the time. And we have the 9 of cups. We have a 1990 BMW Z1. These cars are very silent. It still looks great to this day. And I like what BMW has done with their sport cars. I think that they've enhanced the sports car to the point where they really can't do too much more for it, at least now anyways. But they make great cars. Okay, the 10 of cups is a 2010 Lexus ES350, ranked number 1 luxury car in 2010. And yeah, Lexus makes good stuff, and they don't particularly appeal to me, but it's a very well-made car, great Japanese vehicle, and I can see why people wouldn't buy more of them. Page of Cups, 2002 Volkswagen Beetle. This is the second generation Beetle. The first one was, I think it was 49 in Germany, where the original Beetle was made. And maybe before that. I have to look it up. I'm not sure. It could have been as late as the late 30s or something. I don't know. But the new Beetle looked a lot like the old Beetle, but completely different. The engine was up front instead of in the back, and it was water-cooled. The old ones were air-cooled, and, of course, better air conditioning and everything. So definitely an improvement. These have been discontinued completely. No more Beetles are being made. We got the Knight of Cups is a 1940 Plymouth F10 Deluxe. Now, on the Knights, we see a lot of camouflage vehicles. which I'll show you as we come to them. And the queens are all shot in front of the Taj Mahal. So all 4 queen courts are going to have the Taj Mahal in the shot. This is a 2012 Bentley Mulsanne Diamond Jubilee Edition. I'm not familiar with this car, but Bentley makes a heck of a car if you can afford one and you can afford to maintain it and repair it. Okay, then we have our king. This is a shot, I think, from the Game of Thrones. This is a 2021 Rolls-Royce Phantom. And another big luxury car. You have to maintain these, and a lot of people just lease them and then they renew them at the end of the lease, or they keep them and just take good care of them, because you don't want a repair bill with a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Okay, then we move on to Pentacles. We have an Ace of Pentacles, 1896 Mercedes-Benz delivery van. All these Pentacle cards are going to feature vans. Okay, so this is, of course, probably one of the first delivery vans, if not the first ever made, in 1896, and Mercedes does it again. Have a 2 of Pentacles, which is a 1924 Morris commercial snub nose van. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Very nice looking van. It definitely looks early 20s, I'll tell you that, 1924. But very good. 3 of Pentacles. We have a 1930 Ford Model A, the Woody panel van. If you were around in the 50s and 60s and even partway into the 70s, you see a lot of woody paneling on trucks. It was either actual wood or it was imitation, just like a decoration they did on the sheet metal. But I remember these in the 60s and early 70s. They used to be on station wagons, like the Country Squire station wagon at the time. But that's a Woody. And then our 4 of Pentacles is a 1940 Chevrolet Suburban cargo van. So that Suburban name is pretty old. Very classy van, I think. I do like the looks of it. I'd be curious to drive one. I'd like to see how they drive. Our 5 of Pentacles is a 1950 Volkswagen bus, the oldest VW bus, nicknamed Sophie. And if you notice, Volkswagen didn't really change the look of their Volkswagen buses much at all. That's instantly recognizable as a Volkswagen bus. If you take something from the early 70s, it would look pretty much like it did over 20 years earlier in 1950. Have the 8 of Pentacles is a 1960 Ford Taunus Transit FK1250. This is a basic work van. It does look completely different than the work vans today, but that's 1960 for you. Our 7 of Pentacles is a 1970 Dodge A107 cabover. Okay, so I remember these. I remember these vans in the 60s and early 70s. The 8 of Pentacles is a 1980 Chevrolet RVC camper van. And they were great camper vans because of the extended roof. So if you couldn't quite stand up all the way, you could at least stand up most of the way and like change your clothes or bring things in or out of the van. So it's quite practical. The 9 of Pentacles is a 1990 Ford C150 conversion van. And what they would do back in the day, mostly after you bought it from the dealer, you could take it to a place and they would take a cargo van and they would fit it out so that it would be for camping. They would put a fold-away bed. You could put a TV, a fridge, a little propane stove, and like a little camping potty in it. So you'd have all the stuff you need, and you just have to park it. Okay, the 10 of Pentacles is a 2010 Honda Odyssey, ranked number 1 minivan in 2010. Honda makes good stuff, and they're very reliable, and they're kind of economical to buy, and certainly economical to operate. But they make very good vans. Have our Page of Pentacles is a 1989 Chevrolet G Series. This is from the movie Scooby-Doo 2. And I will probably never see that movie, but that looks like a Scooby-Doo van, I guess. I don't particularly care for the pink, but it's not a bad pink. Then we have the Knight of Pentacles is another, that's a camouflage vehicle. 1983 GMC Vandura from the TV show The A-Team. I remember that show in the 80s. I didn't watch a lot of episodes, but that looks like something that Mr. T would come tumbling out of. We have the Queen of Pentacles, a 2022 Lexus LM, and Lexus makes good stuff. So again, we have a shot of the Taj Mahal. So very good Queen card. We have the King of Pentacles as a 2022 Klesson, Mercedes-Benz V300. Okay, so that's our King of Pentacles. Move on to swords. Swords represent air, and we see a lot of mountain shots in this suit. This is a 1900 Didion quadricycle. So it had 4 wheels versus some of the 3-wheeled vehicles at the time. And it almost looks like it might have been a motorcycle that was converted into a 4-wheeled contraption. So I believe that's why they call it a quadricycle. Our Two of Swords is a 1920 White Motor Company panel delivery truck. So here again we have snowy white mountains in the background. The 3 is a 1930 Chevrolet paddy wagon. These are police vehicles, and they needed them back then because there was a lot of illegal shenanigans going on during Prohibition and what have you, so they were on the scene to deal with it. We have a 4 of Swords, which is a 1940 Ford Pygmy. It certainly is a Jeep type vehicle. So they were used in the military a lot during World War II. And we have our 5 of Swords. We have a 1950 Willys Overland Motors panel delivery truck. Very nice vehicle. I don't see exactly where they get the delivery from. Maybe the top gets stuck on afterwards. But there it is. We have a 6 of Swords, which is a 1960 Chevrolet Suburban. So the Suburban name has been with us for quite some time, all the way back to 1960 and possibly before. Very big SUV, and still is to this day. Our 7 of Swords is a 1970 Jeep Wagoneer, another big SUV, one of the first true SUVs of earlier times, the 1970 Jeep Wagoneer. Eight of Swords is a 1980 Ford Bronco 3. Okay, now they recently brought Broncos back. If you Google 2022 Ford Bronco, you can pull it up, and it's quite a vehicle to this day. The Nine of Swords is a 1990 Toyota 4Runner SR5. Very good car, Toyota 4Runner. I see a lot of them on the roads today, not 1990s, but newer ones. And it's a very durable vehicle, almost like the one they made for Africa. Okay, and we have our Ten of Swords. 2010 Mercury Mountaineer, ranked number 23 SUV in 2010. Of course, Mercury is built by Ford, and very reliable cars. We have a Page of Swords, which is a 2019 Jeep Renegade. I don't know about this one. I don't know if I'd want to be seen riding around. I'd rather have just a conventional Jeep, and a Wrangler maybe, instead of something like this. But I can see how it would appeal to some people. Our Knight of Swords is another camouflage vehicle. 2008 AM General Hummer H2. Now, Hummer H2 didn't appeal to that many people. Some people bought them, but most of the purists that buy Hummers want like an H1 or something. But the H2 just didn't really sell that well. I don't know. I could be wrong. But there we go. And our Queen of Swords is a 2022 Mercedes Maybach GSI. Okay? A big, heavy vehicle, and Mercedes luxury. The King of Swords is a 2021 Rolls-Royce Cullinan Black Badge. Okay, don't know much about this one, but I'm sure it's a substantial vehicle and probably does quite well in the luxury market. Our Ace of Wands, of course, Ace we're representing here with fire. We have an 1896 Daimler load carriage. The Two of Wands is a 1920 Dodge Brothers pickup truck. The Three of Wands, a 1930 Ford Model V, or Model A, excuse me, I'm sorry. Some of the printing on here is real fancy, and my old eyes can't determine what it says. But anyways, it's a 1930 Ford pickup. All of these Wands are pickup trucks, by the way. For the Four of Wands, we have a 1940 Plymouth PT 105. The Five of Wands, we have a 1950 GMC 100 one-ton pickup. And our six is a 1960 Mercury M250. The seven is a 1970 Chevy SS El Camino LS6 454. 454 is a big block motor, and these cars were very collectible to this day, if you can find one. They're a bit like a pickup truck. They're a car that was kind of like converted to be a pickup truck. Very classy looks and quite powerful with the 454. The Eight of Wands is a 1980 Jeep Power Wagon. I don't remember this car, but there it is. A Nine of Wands is a 1990 Mazda B2200. And the 10 of Wands is a 2010 GMC Sierra 1500, ranked #1 truck 2010. I didn't know that. Page of Wands, we have a 1973 Jeep Commando. Knight of Wands, a 2021 Jeep Gladiator. Camouflage, as you can see. Hey, the Queen, we have another Taj Mahal shot. We have a 2010 Cadillac Escalade. Still quite popular today. For the King of Wands, we have, looks like a concept vehicle. Yeah. Tesla Concept Model P pickup truck. So I think that'd be quite popular if Tesla actually got around to building it. And that wraps up the deck. I hope you've enjoyed this. On the guidebook, I'm just going to say a few brief words. First of all, it's all in English, and it comprises about 120 pages. It features upright and reversed meanings for all the cards. What's missing in this, however, is like the Two of Wands. It doesn't tell you what card that was. You'd have to look on the card to actually see what that is. It's really too small a picture, and you can't make anything out. But I think it'd be nice if they do another run of these cards, if they put in what the car was on the card. But overall, it's a very helpful book, and you can apply this book to any tarot deck. I mean, it's got general information in there, which would really help you learn tarot. Okay, so it's a very user-friendly deck for beginners. It's, not conventional by any means, but it's a nice deck. And so I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope I've helped you make a decision here. I recommend this deck. I love it. I think it's a great deck. And my little buddy here, Speedy Racer, he's enjoyed it too. So thank you, Speedy. And anyways, I'll catch you on the next one.